Where do you want to start?
Optional chaining.
Optional chaining. Great. So you want me to show it and you can talk?
Yeah, sure.
So great. Let's do this, I think. Okay. So first of all, kind of explain to us what we're seeing in front of our screen. Oh, you want to do like this? This could be nice.
I guess before we're talking about optional chaining, I think just a few words about like where we are in the project and our focus. I think we're trying to focus most of our efforts in stabilizing the existing surface area, and both at the language level, the SDK level, the Wing console level, making sure that quality is kind of like put the right quality bar, performance. So I think if you go to our GitHub and you look at PRs, you'll probably see mostly bug fixes, and kind of making sure that we have a solid foundation that we can continue to add more features in the future. Having said that, we still have a few features that we wanted to.
Yeah, optional chaining is not a bug fix, right? I mean,
yeah, optional chaining is definitely is a feature that we felt was missing for a beta, right? Like our focus is trying to like get to a point where we can call Wing beta, and I always say we get there when we know when we get there, right? Like it's kind of like this weird undefined thing that we're trying to like reach, and the best way for us to understand what is beta is like by taking Wing for test drives and dog fooding and like building things with it, and then realizing what's missing, and so that's our focus right now.
Yep.
And so let's talk about optional chaining.
So what is optional chaining? What's that?
So basically Wing has an optional type. The ability to say that a type is either has a value or doesn't have a value. And I think we talked about it last time or a few times, a few episodes ago, talked a little bit about optionality as a as a way for Wing to handle nullity, right? Like to handle a situation where there's no value, instead of like explicitly stating that something is nil, you specify that something is of an optional type. And many modern languages actually have support for optional types, and Rust is an example of a language that we use to write the compiler, and it has this option type that's very prevalent and used across APIs. TypeScript has optional types, which is kind of like it's more similar to how Wing defines it.
Right.
And the idea is that basically you try to be more explicit about how you deal with nullity, as opposed to just basically allowing things to be null and then having to like deal with nullity everywhere. You can specify that in this particular place there is a chance that there's no value, and then the compiler can give you safety around accessing these values. And
right. So maybe I should show what you do if you don't have optional chaining. Maybe I should show this. Maybe I should just create a JSON. Let's create a JSON here. A JSON. And I have an A, a B, and a C that is 10. Nice JSON. And if I don't have optional chaining, and I want in a safe area, because this is, actually I can do this. Get A, get B, this is get C here, and then as num, right? And I can just do let n equals, and I can just log this. Log the n, right, Elad? Are you with me?
I'm with you.
So if I'm going to do wing compile a.w, I should get 10. And that's nice. But I know anything all about the structure of this file, right? If I don't know the structure, this is unsafe, because if I don't get B here, then we're seeing that it crashes. We actually see in the compilation crashes in here. Basically, there's an exception that is thrown, right?
Yeah. Although, by the way, I don't think that that's the exception that we need here. I feel like that's kind of like that's like a pre-flight exception,
right?
And we should actually have a better exception in this particular case. I think like it's how we're implementing JSON, the JSON get operation.
Because the JSON get should have thrown an exception on the B side, not in C.
Exactly.
So the exception here happens because of
we're doing a null referencing, right? Like,
yeah. So basically, the get A should return something, but get B shouldn't return anything, and that should throw an exception because get should always return
something.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I see. Great, but we still want to write code that is safe, even if we don't know what's the JSON structure, right? We assume that this is a JSON structure, so we need to create optional. So we have the function. I'm gonna comment this for a second, and if we don't have optional chaining, then we do let A equal J dot try get A. And this A with quotes. Thanks, man. This A is actually what are we saying here? It's a JSON with a question mark. That means an optional JSON. It's either JSON or nil. Is that correct?
Exactly. Awesome. That's the notation for an optional type.
Right. So I can do if let, right? Is that correct? And then I can do if, I'm going to just move forward and not kill the time here, be A dot try get B. I'm doing the same thing. And then do if let C equal B dot try get C. And then I can do if let N equal C try as number like this, right?
Open bracket.
Sorry, and then I can do log, and this is safe. And this was tedious to write, so we're not going to do this entire thing. But
I love it that you chose like a very deeply nested object just for fun.
Yeah, and it doesn't print anything because we don't have if else statement. But if I'm going to uncomment it and print this, it should get a 10. So this is without optional chaining. And we're not going to do this long chaining.
Well, you just did it.
Yeah, but we're not going to do this with optional chaining, right? Because we have a bug somewhere there. It's going to be a problem, right? But so what's optional chaining? Let me delete this thing. How do I use optional chaining?
So basically, it's similar to how TypeScript and JavaScript has. It's something that comes from the JavaScript syntax. It's like question mark dot.
Okay, so I'll do J dot try get A,
and that returns an optional.
Right.
And so every time you have an optional, you can use the optional. Right. Instead of dereferencing with a dot, you can dereference with a question mark.
Instead of doing try get like I did before,
which you see that the compiler doesn't let you, right? Like what's the error? Property acts as an optional type. JSON question mark requires optional accessor.
Right. So let's do let. So let's do this. Right. It's like this.
Exactly.
And this allows me to basically only call the only dereference if there is a value. Basically, it'll break the chain of of access if there is a null value, and it'll also return an optional. Right. Like so if I do like this, I should be seeing here an optional JSON. Right.
Correct.
And if I would do try as number, this becomes
an optional number, right?
Why is this an optional number?
Because if this entire expression
like this, right? This is still an optional number. Okay, so this is a problem. This is a bug.
What do you mean?
It should return an optional number.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
I think that's the specification.
Yeah. Awesome.
Are you standing on A?
I'm standing on A, and I should be seeing an optional number and not
correct.
Yeah, and not
correct. So the optional needs to be inherited from the chain. So we found like 3 bugs, I think, right?
Yeah.
Already.
Yeah. We talked before that the Wingly basically is a nice place to we go over the stuff, we talk about them, and then we can find other kind of cool programming languages bugs. I kind of love those bugs, but not to encounter them. But it's interesting bug to show.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
So this was optional chaining.